right, ready?
In the mic. 5, 4, 3, 2, action. Hi, welcome back to the Weekend Uptake. I'm Tom Elko. Joining me here is Denise Cardinal, Executive Director of the Alliance for a Better Minnesota. And Alliance for a Better Minnesota has a new poll out today looking at Tim Pawlenty's role in the contentious Senate recount. Welcome, Denise.
Great. Thanks for having me, Tom. I like being here with you guys.
Thanks. So tell me about the poll.
Well, what we wanted to do is we really wanted to take a look forward in the recount. As you know, it's been a very long and drawn-out process that's been covered extensively by the UpTake very well, I would like to point out. And so what we want to do is look forward and see what's going to happen. So when the Supreme Court issues a ruling, should Tim Pawlenty sign the election certificate and how people felt about his role in this. The reason we thought this was important is because Tim Pawlenty has not committed to signing it. He's been very cagey on it. And as you know, he's being considered as one of the top presidential picks for his party. And it's pretty easy to see that he could once again put his personal ambitions ahead of the needs of Minnesotans. And so we really wanted to kind of drill down a little bit and see what Minnesotans felt about him sort of playing politics with this already way too long, drawn-out process. And so that's really what the poll was attempting to do.
So what kind of information can we glean from the results?
Well, what we know is that voters want Coleman to concede. I think we also saw that in the Star Tribune poll. We saw that when the Supreme Court does rule that they're going to want Pawlenty to certify the results overwhelmingly. And also that people believe the recount's been fair. They believe that Al Franken's the winner. And they also think that the Minnesota Supreme Court is where it should end. So those are really the top things that we found from the poll.
Now, I did read that even in 4 in 10 self-identifying Republicans say they would have serious doubts with their Republican governor if he didn't sign this election certificate, assuming the Minnesota Supreme Court rules in favor of Al Franken. What does that say about the Republican Party, and is that just a bigger statement about where people are on this issue as a whole?
Well, I mean, I think people really are tired of this, and they really do think that the process has been fair. So when Tim Pawlenty goes out and says, listen, we need to look at it, and he keeps on sort of hemming and hawing about it, Minnesotans actually aren't going to stand up for that. What this is saying is even people in his own party in the state aren't going to stand up for it. So while the national Republicans would really like it if Al Franken was not sworn in, and they might try to put some pressure on Tim Pawlenty, looking to his, like I said, his personal political ambitions, the fact is that Minnesotans are not there. In fact, Minnesotans in his own party aren't there. So it does take a bigger look, not just at the recount, but at Tim Pawlenty's role as someone who is really starting to be seen by Minnesotans as someone who's willing to put his own personal political ambitions in front of the interests of Minnesotans. Because what this poll also told us is that people see that in him, and that they don't want that to be the case.
And he has pretty about 50% approval rating, but his positive and negatives maybe tell a little different story.
Yeah, he's actually, his job performance is not doing as well as it probably could. It's at 48. I think 48 or 49. And so, anytime you start dipping below the 50% mark on that stuff, you really have to worry, especially if you're an incumbent, especially if, you're looking to decide whether or not you're going to run for another term, as we all know he is. And so, I mean, he should, I would argue, pay heed to some of the findings in this and really think about where he's putting his own personal political ambitions on the national stage. And as we know, the session is going to be contentious. It's going on right now. There's going to be a lot of fighting, and the dust hasn't settled yet. And so, who knows where things will be at the end of this. But right now, Minnesotans don't necessarily feel that great about him.
So, either way, is he going to be able to walk out of this unscathed?
No, it depends on what he does. Right now he's really been playing both sides of the fence. He's really been saying that, we need to take a look at what the Supreme Court decides, but the fact is the law actually doesn't account for the governor taking a look at what the Supreme Court decides. The Supreme Court makes a decision, the governor signs the certificate, issues and signs the certificate. There's really no sort of leeway in that, even though he's trying to create the impression that there is some in some of his previous statements. So he really needs to be careful of that.
And the longer this gets dragged out, it seems, the stronger people feel about what should be done to end it.
That's right. I think we all have those, while not quantitative assessments, those qualitative comments from our family members and friends who are not in the state, who say things like, isn't that thing over yet? And then the conversations we have with folks, in the grocery line at Cub, can you believe this thing is still going to go on for another month? And I think Amy Klobuchar, our lone senator, summed it up best when she said something to the effect of, I can't believe I have to go tell my staff that this is going to go on for another month. So we're all sort of thinking that too.
Well, you mentioned another poll that came out today that looked at the two candidates themselves, Norm Coleman and Al Franken. It came out from the Star Tribune. Found that 64% of people responding believe Coleman should accept the recount trial decision that came out April 13th, deciding that Al Franken won the race by 312 votes. 64% is a pretty strong majority here. Now, is this? Do you think this is? How is this registering with Coleman? Where's his process, and how is it in the similar situation to Plenty?
Yeah, we all know that. Last week, Norm Coleman's not going to concede. He told editorial boards, newspapers that he wasn't going to. He's asking for the patience of Minnesotans. We're seeing that's affecting his favorability ratings. We're seeing that, and we saw that in the Star Tribune poll. People are not thinking kindly on this anymore. While some people, and it arguably can be said that it was his right to do this, a lot of people think that now that impartial three-judge panel decided, he really should accept those results. Losing by 312 votes is still losing, and so maybe we should look to accepting that gracefully rather than dragging this out longer. And I think that those poll results see that, and you see that in his numbers, in his favorability numbers.
I'm looking at one more here that says only 28% consider last week's appeal by Coleman to be appropriate, and one can only imagine what that number would do if it went on to the federal level. So is Norm acting in his own best interest here, or is he doing this for the party as well? Because this could do some serious damage to his political career.
Yeah, I think that he's really doing this for the sake of his party. I think he's taken one for the team on this. I don't see how he could really recover from this politically in Minnesota, at least not with a lot of time and a lot of changes. But I really think this is him taking one for the team, knowing that he's going to bow out of politics for a while and move on to something else.
All right, Denise Cardinal with Alliance for a Better Minnesota, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks.
We're coming right back with the roundtable right after this report from senior political correspondent Noah Kunin from the Minnesota Capitol.
Welcome back to the Uptake. This is senior political correspondent Noah Kunin with an update on election reform bills moving through the Minnesota legislature. Although the saga of the 2008 Senate race between former Republican Senator Norm Coleman and Democrat Al Franken has yet to reach an ultimate conclusion, the process from recount to election contest is already having reverberations on election law in Minnesota. Reforms proposed by Secretary of State Mark Ritchie were put forth before the Minnesota Senate State Government Budget Division Committee yesterday.
Senate File 1331, the main points of what the bill does is it would stop the processing of absentee ballots in the precinct at the precinct level and instead have absentee ballots accepted or rejected at a central location at either the county or city level.
I wonder what the impetus of that was, but anyway. Okay, but in the fiscal note, looks like it'd be covered by the Help America Vote Act account. Ms. Fraser, that's correct?
Yes, Mr.
So there would be no cost to the state because of this, okay.
Another proposed change was in response to the Minnesota Supreme Court decision made during the recount, empowering campaigns to have veto power over which improperly rejected ballots would ultimately be counted. That power could be unlawful in future recounts.
A main part of the bill, it would lower the threshold for when a recount would occur from 0.5%, which is current law, down to 0.25%. And the Secretary of State's office told me that in 2008, that would have reduced the number of recounts that occurred in the state from 8 to 2. Obviously not the U.S. Senate race, which is all on our minds.
Other reforms were put forth, such as Senator John Marty's bill requiring automatic voter registration for driver's license applicants.
The bottom line, what this does is it's automatic voter registration at the time you register, and the biggest advantage of it is that because the data is entered automatically, it will save a lot of money for counties and local election officials because they don't have to hand enter the data from the voter registration cards.
The most radical change was proposed by Senator Ann Rest, instituting runoff elections in close statewide races.
If Senate File 791 was current law, we would have 2 sitting members of the United States Senate from Minnesota. This is a bill that sets an even closer margin to initiate a runoff election between candidates for statewide office. That is, it would be limited to the U.S. Senate, constitutional officers, and the judges that run statewide. The margin would have to be 1/8 of 1%.
This change is the only election reform proposed that would carry a significant cost to the state government. Rest's counter is that it would be an extremely rare event. Stay tuned to the Uptake to track these bills as they move through the Minnesota legislature.